Hey everybody, welcome to episode 99999 of the Revenue Diaries. This was a special one for me. I've known Andrea for years. She kind of took me under her wing to lead me down the righteous path of software marketing. She is a great marketer, a great leader. We talk about everything from her being a soccer star, and that's an understatement, to step parenting and finding the right leader to follow as a C-suite executive. So I really enjoyed this, and I hope you do too. You guessed it. Today's episode is brought to you by Lessonly, our illustrious sponsor, coaching and enablement software for sales and customer service teams. If you've been listening, you know where to find us, but you could just go lessonly.com, lessonly.com. All right. Hope you enjoy. Cheers, everyone. Welcome to the Revenue Diaries, a deeply personal interview series where we ask the top revenue leaders in the world 5 questions about their work, fears, family, life, challenges, etc. You all know there's just one catch. We do not share any of the questions in advance. So Andrea has no idea what I'm going to ask her. It's going to be fun. But I'm pleased to welcome an individual who referred me to one of my favorite places on the interwebs, which is Revenue Collective. Someone I'm lucky to call a friend and a badass marketer. Andrea, welcome to the show. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Kyle.
Absolutely.
Easy to say yes to you. So I'm Andrea. I'm the CMO at Electric. I've been working in B2B SaaS for the last, let's call it 20 years. Sadly, I don't know, every year I add another year. It makes me feel a little bit older, but been leading marketing teams for tech companies in New York for that long.
And Andrea and I met in 2015, probably, when I was at OpenView, and you were leading marketing at Signpost, which was an OpenView portfolio company. And I remember the first time I met, we walked across the street to there was a restaurant, an open air restaurant across the street from the Signpost offices, and we got drinks.
Fun.
You probably, for those of you listening, Andrew's looking at me like,
I either headed too many soccer balls and can't remember, or maybe we had too many drinks. I don't know, but either way, I'm sure it was fun.
It was fun. All right. So we usually start off with a softball question just to warm up. Again, Andrew did not receive these questions ahead of time. So I hear congratulations are in order for being one of the winners of the Wayne Hills High Mount Rushmore contest. So can you, before I get into at Wayne Hills, you played soccer, and they had this contest where it was like 175,000 votes, where they got a bunch of people who played sports at high school, where it was probably like 25 people. And apparently, it's not even apparent, you were voted to be on the front of this Mount Rushmore contest. You were a 3-time All-Star selection, right? Earned All-American honors and was a member of the under 18 U.S. national team, soccer. You were also 2-time captain at the University of Michigan.
You did your homework.
I did do my homework, yeah. So you were also 2-time captain at the University of Michigan. So, first off, I want to know what this Mount Rushmore thing was. Did you know about it? Did you garner votes so you could get on it? What was the
First of all, no, I didn't know about it at first, but then I started getting all these Facebook messages just voted for you. I'm like, for what? But I can't believe how many votes people ended up. I was like, wow, Wayne Hills High School. There must not be a lot going on for this
and
crazy.
The other thing I noticed, which you might not actually, I think you might have graduated by then, but there's a football player that got voted twice.
Was it Greg Olson?
Greg Olson.
Yeah, he plays for the Panthers. He's like a pretty sick NFL player. So I really didn't think I'd be competing with him, but happy to have received votes. Yes.
So you're a great soccer player. What did growing up playing soccer playing soccer at D1 level, U.S. national team. What did it teach you that you've applied to your personal and professional life?
Yeah, I mean, I was, very passionate about soccer. A lot of that just came naturally to me. I like to win, so I think I apply a lot of that to my professional life. The companies I'm working for. I mean, I'm the first one to admit, my competitive nature really like shines through. So, yeah, I mean, I want to win. I'm like results oriented. So, I get a goal and I'm like, how do we like run through the wall to like, get at it? So, but that's in my core DNA. So I was happy to be able to apply it to like a sport when I was younger. And now I really like thrive applying it to, my work. I would say personally, I mean, I'm not competitive with my friends or anything. I don't like better clothes than them. I don't really care.
Well, so this goes into my second question, but you have a stepdaughter. Have you applied, anything you learned from your parents growing up with playing in, like being encouraged to do soccer? Have you done that with her? I mean, how old is your stepdaughter?
Yeah, she's 13. And my wife and her ex-husband have had Sophia. And Jared, actually, her stepfather, also played soccer at Trinity. So we are like probably the two most annoying people ever to have as like a step parent and a dad, because we're like, we tried so hard, but she didn't have it in her. I think she liked to play, but you realize quickly whether or not your kid wants to be doing it
Sure.
like that. So my dad, he really didn't have a challenge in getting me like outside, and like I was juggling the ball off the walls in the house, like outside, punting the ball in the air every single day. And I'm like, so if you want to go outside, she's like, after this TikTok, you
Right.
know? So just different.
Are you on TikTok?
No, I
Okay.
don't think you can join TikTok. What do they do with the data? I don't even know.
Yeah, well, I was on it for a month and I just removed myself. I was like, I can't do it.
I heard it's pretty
It's
addicting.
just too much. It's
Yeah.
addicting. It is very addicting. And then it's addicting because they did such a great job with their algorithm. Like if you use it daily for a week, the
They know what
stuff
you
that they
like.
give you, oh my, it is unbelievable. But it's very, very, it skews very young, right? So it's
Hmm.
just kind of, you just feel weird. Like I just don't. I talked to Dave Gerhardt about it on the show, and it's just weird. It's just like a
Yeah.
weird app to use. But anyway, so you mentioned your stepdaughter. Um, I think we've talked about this at one time, but what did you have to learn, or what did you learn about being a good step parent to your wife's daughter? What advice might you have for individuals who are going to be stepping into the role as a step parent?
Yeah, this is real talk. Hardest thing to learn is that you're not the parent. So
Mm,
you can provide guidance and support to the biological parent. But she has, and again, in my current situation, she has two highly functioning, wonderful parents
mm,
that really need to guide like Soph. But I provide support and guidance where I can, moral support, friend support, I don't know, advice, things like that to help her with her homework. And again, like I'm not like psychotically pushing her into soccer. I may have done that if it was my biological child. But I think you have to quickly like understand where your boundaries are. And for me, actually, it took me probably too long to understand where my boundaries are just because I'm a like results oriented
yeah,
human.
sure.
I'm like, no, like that makes no sense. Like, why would we do that? And then I'm thinking, like, it's not my fucking place to say actually what we do about it. So I would say that, knowing the guardrails, that's the advice.
Could you tell us about your diversity and inclusion story and what all leaders can learn from your journey?
Sure. So I'm married to a woman. So I guess some people would call me a lesbian. But I don't really like the labels. I just
Yeah.
married a wife. But uh, it's never been a blocker for me. And I say that with like a little bit of caution because I know that it is challenging for others. So, my journey and navigating that was probably slightly less complicated, mostly because I didn't not make it a big deal, not because I didn't want to talk about it, but if people ask or it came up naturally, like sure, I'd say so. But um, mostly it's been a smooth, ride or journey. I've never been, and again, I don't know if maybe there was unconscious bias and maybe I was not given things because I am, but I was unaware of it. So I don't know how to say like blissfully ignorant about it. However, like I said, I do know it is a challenge. So I am in the diversity channels that related to like LGBT and like, I am an ally and I reach out to people just being like, hey, here as a senior leader, again, whether or not that matters to them, I don't know, but I am here. Concerns at least have a seat at the table. Thankfully at Electric though, it is so ingrained in everything we do that I've never had to like, raise my hand and be like, we're falling down here. So I don't know how boring it is, my story about D&I, but
No, it's not boring, but you mentioned Electric. What have you learned about, I think the hardest thing for revenue leaders to do is to find CEOs that believe in them, that trust them, and then let them fail, right?
Yeah.
Just bring your whole self to work and accept that.
Right.
What have you learned about finding the right leader to work for? I know you've had great bosses in the past, but it seems like the Electric side, it's electric.
Yeah. Wow. Yes.
You are electrified to be at Electric. Like, what have you learned just looking for the right boss?
Okay. So first of all, I'm like so passionate about this. Working for like a decent human being is really the only thing you need to be evaluating when you're interviewing.
Yeah.
So like evaluating for EQ is like of the utmost important. I had like a really shitty CEO in one of my previous roles, and shitty because they just weren't nice. And I'm like, it's a fucking job and like we're people. So why don't you just chill out and like, let's try to enjoy the ride. It's not, it's not that serious. Like I care a lot about what I do. I'm very good at what I do. I make businesses a lot of fucking money. So like, can we just be friends and hug it out in the meantime? So when I met Ryan a few years ago, I was like, what a nice guy. And ever since then, he's been somebody I wanted to work for. While I was looking, I reached back out to him. I was like, listen, and you're not hiring for this role. It's not available yet, but I want to work for you. Are you good? And he opened up the role, So I think EQ, evaluating for EQ, because most, the CEOs are smart. Like usually the IQ is there, but if the EQ sucks, the whole company's going to suck. You're going to hate your job. And,
it's not worth it.
No, it's not. And honestly, I think that's the reason people leave after 18 months. They're like, wow, CEO is tough. And unnecessarily hard. Ryan drives me to win. He's not like fall down on your goals. But in the meantime, he says like, thank you. And wow, good job. Or like, I don't know. I'm like,
actually recognizes you as a human.
Yeah. I'm like, did he just fucking say thank you to me? Like, isn't that sick and just terrible? Like I've been doing this for, almost 20 years and I'm getting thank yous like for the first time. So anyway, I will get off the.
Well, what's interesting is that you went to him and you said, when you're ready, so you developed that relationship over time with him.
Yeah.
Were you consciously doing that, knowing that you wanted to work for him eventually? I know it wasn't, I'm not trying to say that it was, that you were just becoming friends with him because you wanted to work for him, you wanted to work at Electric, but were you thinking about that as you were talking to him over the year or years?
No, like not initially, but when I had to think of the next role, I was like, oh, Ryan Denny, like good guy first. And by the way, like he is an excellent CEO. I didn't know that part before, but I was like, he's a good guy. Like, let's start there. Like the minimum requirement, which is like, treat people like humans, he could do. I was like, he's already a leg up in my opinion. And and then I got to know the business and I was like, holy shit, this is going to be, a good place to be.
That's awesome. So hopefully at the time of this shipping of the podcast and the video cast, we have people listening to it. So all the practitioners listening, what piece of advice do you have for those of us in the VP role, director role, marketing, becoming a CEO, like revenue leaders in general? What piece of advice do you have that we should remember outside of the one you just answered, which is, find a CEO that treats you like a human,
like a normal,
like a normal person.
Yeah, right. It'd be surprising how hard it is to find. Sorry, all the CEOs out there. I'm just like crapping on the whole. Do better. It's not that hard to be nice.
There's revenue leaders like that too, right?
Just be a nice person. I would say first piece of advice is number one, just get crystal clear on aligning with the CEO and the CFO on the objective. That's two-part. One, how much time do they want you to spend on new bookings and retention? So for me right now at Electric, it's 85% on new bookings and it's like 15% on retention. And then of the new bookings, like be sure about what you're going to contribute as a marketer, right? So like when I joined, marketing was probably only 25% marketing contribution. We moved that up to 40 to make it reasonable, but hopefully at some point it's like 60 or higher. Anyway, the long and the short of that is just have alignment on what matters to them as relates to the KPIs for the business. And then be very good, like ruthless about your forecasting. Make sure you can get there. You say you're going to do it, like don't fall down on it. So like figure out, your plan for getting there. And I think that builds a lot of confidence. I think that's what gets you more money as a marketer to go spend more money. I think that's what makes the job fun.
So in your role, you're not necessarily relying on sales ops to forecast. You are the one setting the forecast.
Oh, I do the forecasting. Absolutely. I mean, they help.
Yeah.
But when I joined Electric, it was really just sales ops. We're making that role more revenue ops, hiring for marketing ops and developing the core like muscle memory for how to like report on marketing data, whether it's acquired or influence, multi-touch, that doesn't really exist today inherently in ops, but we're getting there. And in the meantime, like you as the leader need to know how to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So I have one last question. We could not end this interview without talking about the Revenue Collective.
Yeah.
Because you're the one that referred me to it. And what has been the most impactful thing for you? Because you're as active, if not more active than I am. What's been the most impactful thing for you being a part of it?
Talking to people like you, we're in the trenches and, we're having to deal real time with things like COVID and other things that make our jobs like hard. So just access to people, operators who are like excellent at what they do. And, friendship, like I have a lot in common with you just naturally because of like how we have to think and like the stuff we do. So, I think that there are a lot of like, natural friendships in there
there for sure. 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. This has been awesome. Thank you. Could you tell the fine folks listening where they can find you?
Sure. You can find me at Andrea at electric.ai.
What about LinkedIn or Twitter or
Twitter?
I went into your Twitter past.
My Twitter is like totally political. It's like not, I'm just like ripping the whole current administration. So
I was gonna ask you a question about that. Then I was like, we can just pause on that.
Yeah. I don't know who's listening, but yeah, if you want to ask me something directly, otherwise LinkedIn, just put my name in the search bar, you'll find me and we'll connect.
All right, great. Thanks again. This wraps up another episode of the Deeply Personal and Always Revealing Revenue Diaries. I'm not Joe Rogan or Malcolm Gladwell. So if you like this episode, hell, if you love Andrea, go rate, subscribe, download, share, review. You know the drill. We all listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening and watching. Cheers.